Not much. Not much. Shavuos.
Right. Hold on, where are you?
Rabbi Aaron, Shmuley finally got Shmuley. I finally heard from Shmuley today.
Oh yeah, great. Yeah.
He says he's doing okay. Just it's too overwhelming. His wife is manning his phone because of the business.
Uh-huh.
And he says he thinks 2 more rounds and then he's done. That's what he said.
Okay. Halavai.
It was only messaging. It was not. I didn't speak to him.
Yeah, because when I spoke with you, then I had my Zevi hadn't spoken with him in over 2 weeks also. So
Yeah, he went.
Zevi spoke to him today because he hung up on me to speak to Zevi.
oh yeah.
But I'm not insulted.
Okay. Good.
I guess he's what do you call it? I guess he got back on the grid today.
Okay. Good. Good. Wonderful. That's good. Very good.
Yeah, because I snuck him in a
home or
phone
in the hospital?
like the prisoners. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
well,
I snuck
Is
him
he-
a phone without his wife knowing, like in prison. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I
yeah.
smuggled in a separate.
Did you put it in a cake
Is
with
it-
a file?
Is he home or in the hospital this week?
You went to him?
Home.
No, I'm kidding, Rivard. I'm making
Oh.
a joke. She's the gatekeeper. I snuck
That's
it
right.
by, you know.
Right.
Listen, she does a good job.
Listen, good for her. He needs it.
I told him he needs a press secretary. That's it. Yeah. Okay,
That
so
would be
let's go.
great.
There's a long daf tonight. Long daf and a lot towards the end of the daf, a lot of interesting things. Where did we leave off last night? Where did we leave off? On nikanor, right?
You're right on the topics, yeah.
Yeah. Finally, we get to the nikanor. We only had the shari nikanor on how many times? But then we get a repeat tonight, right? Most of the Amud, most of the first Amud is a repeat from Shkolim. Yeah. Okay, so Nikanor, Nasu Nisim Ladal Sosav. So Nikanor, he had Nisim that happened to his doors. Tanarabana. Ma Nisim Nasu Ladal Sosav. So what were the Nisim that happened to his doors? Amr Kishalach Nikanor Lahavi Dlasis Melachsandria Shom Mitzrayim. So when Nikanor went to bring the doors from Alexandria, Chazirasoi, Amar Allah, Nishal Shabiyam Latevai. So the Nachshal of the Yam, they wanted to tava, to what do you call it? Drown him. Yeah. Now I don't know what's a Nachshal is Rashi says a Sa'ara, right? Now that's a wind, correct? Is that a wind that was a problem with the water or a problem with the wind? I thought Sa'ara was with the Ruach, with the wind. Okay, but either is, so the wind was gonna, I guess, blowing around. So not lachzman v'telu liyam. So what he did is he took one of the doors and he put it into the water. Now, why did he do that for? He did it so that it would make, Rashi says, it would make the ship lighter. But it still didn't stop. Right? This whole thing, I don't know how it flows, because it says that he threw one of the doors in. So Rashi says he threw one of the doors in because he wanted to lighten the ship. Then the next line, but the sea did not stop, Zaf, is like an anger. Right? Now that sounds like he threw the door off of it, sort of like a Yoina type situation. No?
Not lawyer, not Lou, meaning he was forced on him.
What?
He didn't want
Not
to.
you're right. Not Lou means they took it.
So the
Right.
flow is that they took it and he refused to let them take the other one.
I understand, but a dayan like nochayam izafai sounds like the reason why they threw it off is because it shouldn't have been there.
No, it's saying that they were still in danger, meaning just because they lightened it that much, they needed to lighten it more.
Yeah, but then it doesn't. A dayan like nochayam izafai.
It's not a causation.
It sounds like it's a problem. It sounds like it's a problem with the with the ship.
Anytime.
I mean, it sounds like it's a problem with the
No.
weather, not the ship.
True, the weather was causing for the ship needing to be lightened. Every single time there was a storm back in the day, they would just throw everything off the boat so they would survive. So since it continued to have this storm, they needed to lighten the boat even more.
I hear.
That's the way they
I don't
always
know.
dealt with it back in the day.
I understand, but it sounds like this was an issue with the sea, not an issue with the boat, right? Okay, I guess it's both. Okay, either way. So then Bikshu Lahatal is
Yeah, but the
so
way
then
they
they
solve
wanted
the
to,
issue with the sea is by lightening the load of the boat.
It
Right,
says
but then it should have said,
Nochayom,
but
the,
it's
the,
still-
the sea got calmed down. Simple. I don't know why you're looking for something.
no, meaning, okay, whatever. All I'm saying is that why didn't it say the boat was still drowning? They threw off one door, then the boat was still drowning. Why does it say
The sea was still rough.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so I either way.
guess.
I don't know. L'char, it's a combination. What Akiva was saying.
Okay.
So anyways, so Bikshu Lahatal is Chaver. So they wanted to throw the other door off. Amud hu ukrachat. So he held on to it and he did not allow it to go off. So Amud lahem etiluni ima. Put me in the water with it. So then miyad, then immediately nochayom mizafe. Then the storm stopped. But he was nikanor was pained about that he's missing the other door. Even Shagil and Amala shall Akko, once he reached Akko, right, which I think even Bisman Azeh is still the ships go, no?
Yes.
Yeah, right, they still, yeah, that's a pretty interesting thing. So
The
so it was peeking out from under the boat. It traveled along under the boat, one of the gates. Or the others say that's sort of exactly like Yaina, that one of a fish swallowed it, and then spit it out onto the dry land. But that's what Shlomo said. Right, the beams of our house, right, are made out of arazim, of cedar, and rahitainu, and rahit is really our furniture. Is berusim are made out of I guess berusim is what? Those are type of wood. Al tikri berusim, don't read a berusim. Ella bris yam, right? Brias yam, the creation of the sea. The fikoch, right? So meaning that it was the doors to the Beis Hamikdash were like almost like they were created in the sea. And therefore, all the gates in the Beis Hamikdash, they changed it to be made out of gold, right? Except for the Shar Nikanor, because there were nisim done to it. And some say no, because it was nechoshes mutzaheves, so it was very shiny. Meaning not because of the nisim that happened, it just happened to have been shiny, so they kept them. It was some sort of very what do you call it? Muzukekos means like a very fine. How do you say it? Fine, right?
Shiny.
Shiny, yes. It was very
Refined.
Refined. Yeah. Refined.
Yeah, Rashi. There's a Rashi. Rashi says the type of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it gave off. It looked like gold. So Mamela, that's why they were able to keep it. So it's interesting because the first shot is that the reason Taka didn't look anything, but because of the zeicher for the miracle, the nace that happened. So therefore they kept it. The other pshatim is no, it looked like gold. So once it looked like gold, they might as well keep it. Right? Why couldn't they change it? What?
Diktuk-wise, the first pshat looks like they changed the doors to be gold because to show the nace of Shari Nikanor. The mipnei, because usually goes on an action that was previous. It doesn't say
it says lafika. It says lafika.
What? Yeah, but that line of Leficha, Kol Shar Mikdash Nishtanu Liyazov, it could have said that Loi Nishtanu Shari Nikanor Liyazov Mipnei. The Mipnei usually goes on an action. Here, the action is the change. They changed the other ones to be gold because to underline the names of Shari Nikanor.
Okay, I don't think that's a Pashut shot.
I don't think it's the Pashut shot either. But
they changed all. It sounds like as they got wealthier, they changed the doors to gold, but they kept Nikanor's gates because of the nace. Right?
But the way you're saying it is not what the way it says chutz. They changed everything except because. In English, that would be the because is going on the change, not the exception.
Okay, listen. I don't understand diktuk in Hebrew, and I certainly don't understand diktuk in English. So, right? Yeah. Fine. Okay, so let's see what here's the Mishnah. Right, and these. So the last Mishnah talked about all the things that were done positively. Right, they were done positive for the Beis Hamikdash. These are liganai, right? Shel Beis Garmu, right? Of Shel Beis Garmu, the house of Garmu. They did not want to. They didn't want to do. They didn't want to teach anybody lechem hapanim. I hope the island remembers this epis from Shkolim, right? So they didn't want to teach anybody ma'aser lechem hapanim. Shel Beis Avtinas le'rotzu l'lamed al ma'aser haketoros. Beis Avtinas didn't want to teach anybody how to do the ketores. Hugris ben Levi hayodea perek b'shir. He knew how to make very nice music. He didn't want to teach anybody how to do it. Ben Kamtzas Ben Kamtzas didn't want to teach anybody how to write. His special way of writing, which we'll see on Amud Beis, what that was. Right, meaning the ones that it said in the Mishnah from yesterday. On those, we said Zecher Tzadik L'Bracha, right? The one that put in the chandelier, they made the gold handles, etc., etc. Those are Zecher Tzadik L'Bracha. While Elun Nemar, the Shem Rishayim Yirkov, and on these it said that the name of Rishayim should get decayed, right? Which we'll see on the base exactly what that means. Yeah, so Zogding Mar, Tanramana. Beis Garmu Hayabikin v'Maisa Lechem Aponim. The Beis Garmu, they were Bikim and how to do the bread, the show bread as they call it. Right? Is that right? The way V'loi Ratzu Lamed, and they didn't want to teach anybody. So Shalcha Chachamim B'viyu Umnim in Alexandria Shom Mitzrayim. So the Chachamim went and asked people from Alexandria of Mitzrayim to come, who were also experts. And then they knew how to bake, like the people from Garmu. But they didn't know how to take it down. Meaning they were able to bake the bread the same way, but they didn't know how to get it off without it breaking. Because they would heat the oven from the outside, and they would bake it on the outside. Yeah, meaning they baked it before they put it onto the oven, right? And then I guess, and then they put it in to keep warm. And the other ones heated it on the inside. It got baked on the inside. And halalu piton misafeshes. So the people, the Alexandria people, their bread would get ruined, right? Would get what do you call it? Moldy. Well, I don't know if it's made moldy, but whatever. Yeah, it got decayed. But the people from Garmu wouldn't get ruined. So because they bake much better when they bake it inside the actual oven. And so when the Chachamim heard this, Amru, they said, whatever Hashem created, He created for His own covet. Says anything that was created is created for my own covet. The Chazu Beis Garmu and the Beis Garmu should go to their place, right? So Shalchu lahem Chachamim v'lo bo, and the Chachamim asked them to come back, and they didn't come. So then Kaflu, meaning they said they had left, so they stopped doing it. They didn't want to teach anybody. So Chacham said, "We need you back." So they didn't want to come. So Kaflu and Scharon, they doubled their money. Ubo, and then they came back. They would get paid for every day. They would get paid 12 mana. And today, now they started getting 24, so they got double. Every day they got 24, now they got 48. So Amru Lahem, Chacham, so the Chacham said to them, Mari Isim, Shaloi Lulamid, why are you not teaching people how to do this? So Amru Lahem, Yoidin Hayu, Shalbeis Abba, because we knew from our father's house, we know that this is going to be a Churban Beis Hamikdash. Because maybe we're going to end up teaching somebody who's not supposed to know it. And he's going to end up doing avodah zarah. Right? And with this, for that they were praised because they didn't want people to do avodah zarah. Yeah. So the question is here, why they doubled the money then?
No, the Aldavar says going on the next Misa. No, the Mazkirin Oson Shvach is the next Misa.
No, right. No, I'm saying Enochanami, but meaning it seems like they meaning did they do, was this a good reason or not? Clearly it was not.
How long did it take him to do this? It took one day, no, to bake the bread.
Yeah, right? I mean, every Friday. It had to be every Friday.
That's all. Okay.
No.
So big deal. So he's paid a couple of extra rubles.
I'm saying, but every week they had to do this.
Okay, no. It was only for 420 years. It wasn't like a...
Yeah. Okay. But either way, the Chachamim did not buy this. No pun intended, but the Chachamim did not buy this. Did not buy this excuse that they said.
I mean, if
originally,
I would have thrown him out the first day.
The Gemara in Shkolem says that they did, right? The later on story that he wanted to actually tell them. No, the Gemara in Shkolem said, the Yerushalmi said that they at the end of the day they should be masker or shvach because they did it for the proper reasons.
Well, that's because
right. That's the Gemara in Shkolem. They say that they I guess they weren't sure if they had ulterior motives. And right, it's Masha from this Gemara that they did have ulterior motives because they basically bargained them for more money.
Right, I'm saying Yerushalmi says that too.
Right, but it's interesting that even so, the Yerushalmi seems to say that even though they asked for more money, at the end of the day, they were masker l'shvach because they found out that they were doing a lishma.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It's a very shver. It's a shver Gemara. This Gemara.
We're going to see in a few. Let's wait to the end there.
Well, that's not. I mean, that's not this. That's by a different group. Okay, so let's see. But for something else, they praised them. They never had clean bread, right? In their kids. Meaning their kids never had it. They never served their kids, or they never had any clean bread. Why? So people shouldn't say, "Oh, you see, they're feeding their kids from the lechem upon them, from the flour from the lechem upon them." So to be mekayim the pasuk that you should always be clean from Hashem and Yisrael, meaning you should never have people thinking that you're doing something wrong. So therefore, they never sent their kids to school with flour, right? With flour that was nucky, because they didn't want anybody to think that they did anything, that they were using hektish. Right? Again, another example where people from the Beis Hamikdash, the chashad was rampant. Right? I mean, would you think that a guy sends his kids for snack, for lunch, for school? Would you think he's using the flour from the Beis Hamikdash? Right? Okay, whatever. I don't know what else to say about that. Fine. So Beis Havtinas, so Beis Havtinas, they didn't want to teach anybody to do it Ketaris. The Beis Havtinas were Bekian in the Ma'aseh Ketaris, and they don't want to teach anybody. Same story. So the Chachamim sent for workers from Alexandria. And they knew exactly how to make the Ketaris. But they didn't know how to make the smoke go up like them. Right? This is what we learned. Where do we have this? I went straight up. Right, we had it a few blot ago. Was it? I don't
Yeah,
remember.
we had
now.
this in Shkolim. We had the same
Shkolim.
thing
No, but I was saying there was another Gemara about
with the smoke.
the
There's the
Torah's-
smoke going up.
Is a Mishnah
Esther
in
Nisim.
Avos. It's a Mishnah in Avos. It was one of the Nisim that the wind never
Esther
moved.
That
Nisim,
it went-
the Heavenly
Right.
Mystery.
So that was
Yeah.
one of the Nisim. Right, the Gemara brought that a few blot ago. Right, very good. Thank
Yeah.
you. Anyway, so these guys didn't know how to make it go straight up. Because them, meaning the base of Tinas, went straight up like a stick. Yeah.
Excuse me. So they had bad guys in Bayis Rishon, not just Bayis Sheni. Because that nest was in Bayis
Right.
Rishon, right? Not in Bayis Sheni.
That it went up straight.
So these were bad dudes. These bakers were bad guys in Bayis Rishon.
I hear. Okay, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean these aren't the bakers; these are the Torah's people,
Guitarist
Yeah.
guys, the frankincense guys.
the Frankins there. Yeah. And Ochanami, that's a good point, Taka. That's right, because in the second Beis Hamikdash didn't go straight up. I hear. Anyways, okay, very good. So shall halalam aftziyah lakan lakan, but these they went this way and that way. The smoke went this way and that way. Because Shama Chacham v'davar amru, and when the Chacham heard this, they said, Kol ma shebara kadosh baruch hu l'chvaydoi baru. Whatever Hashem created, He created for His own covet. Shenemer kol pal Hashem l'maneu. Hashem made everything for Himself. Right? So therefore, they wanted to make sure that everything goes perfectly the way it's supposed to be in the Beis Hamikdash. And they said the Beis of Tina should come back and do the Ketores. So the Chacham sent it to them, and they didn't come. They doubled up their schar, and they came every day. I'm sorry, and they came. Every day they took 12 mana, and today they took 24. Yehuda says, so now they took 48.
Aaron, this was definitely not Zadie Milton was not doing this.
What is this lashon of b'chol yoyim? Both times. Lechem upon was once a week. The Ketores is once a year.
Right. I hear. It's a good order. B'chol yoyim. Maybe they needed them every day in order to make the Ketores. They only made the Ketores once a year, but maybe they had to make the smoke go up straight. They had to be around. Could it be?
For a whole year, they had to mix the spices and chop them and whatever.
They
Sounds
made themselves important. Yeah, that's what happened. Made themselves important.
I hear. I don't know. It's a good order. That's a good order. I like that order. Anyway, so Amalam Chacham, my reason Shalei Lamed. What do you see that you're not teaching? We know that this Beis Hamikdash is going to get destroyed. Amru Shema Yomad Adam She'ein Mehugan She'ein Mehugan. Maybe a person's going to learn that he's not proper. And he's going to go do Avodah Zarah with this Ketores. Fine. So
how many other people knew that the Beis Hamikdash was going to be destroyed?
That's another thing, right? What these guys are such tzadikim, right? How did they know it's going to be destroyed, David? That's a good point. It's a good point. I don't know. These guys probably had a side gig doing kvittelach and all that stuff. Mistama. I don't know.
Is this a raya? Is this the raya that you could take a percentage of your fundraising, even for a yeshiva?
I don't know if this was fundraising.
I'm saying.
I don't know.
I'm saying they took from the Chumas Alishka.
True. I hear that. I guess you can hold out. You can hold out for whatever money you want to get.
It, right. As long as if you're worth it, it's you.
Yeah. You know, that's what you got to do.
You could say about yourself, Kol Pol Hashem L'Maneh.
Yeah, 100%. There are plenty of people that do that, Akiva. Plenty of people that.
They might be a little, full of themselves, but yeah. I don't know if it's altruistic.
100%.
Anyway, the Rashash has a few different gersais for B'chol Yaim. Just by the way.
Yeah, Taka.
I didn't go through all of them. He changed it one to B'chol Shana. He has a few different shatim from the Rishalmi, from a Rashi and Shavuos.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Yesh Gayach.
Oh,
Well,
Was
Dover
the-
Zeh Maskir Noisim Shvach. What?
Was the Shem Rishon Yirkov here for the fact that they didn't teach, or when the Chachamim came to them, they didn't even trust
what
the
happened?
Sanhedrin?
An anicle of Guy and Rebecca's was a 6-year-old anicle was hit by a car today. Saying
Who?
tell him for her.
So who?
Guy Novak's anicle.
Bracha
know.
Hoover Basara Malka.
Abba Shmuel Novak's, Yaakov.
Oh, okay. It should be. What's the name again?
Bracha Hoover Basara Malka.
Okay. So what were you saying, Gershon?
Was the Shem Rishon Yirkov here because they didn't teach it, or because they said straight back to the Sanhedrin, basically, we don't trust you to find a tzaddik to teach? Well, how do you
I don't
say
know.
that to the Sanhedrin? I mean, which one's worse? They didn't teach, or they basically told them we
I
don't
thought it was
trust.
because they didn't. I thought it was because they didn't teach and they took things into their own hands. I think it's both.
Yeah.
Yeah, l'chara. And then they asked for money on top of it. That didn't help either. Right. I hear. Okay, maskir nosin l'shvach. And but for this thing they praised them. A kala never went out with perfume from their house. When they would marry a woman from someplace else, they would make a t'nai that she's not allowed to wear perfume. So people are going to say, oh, they're getting smell from the Maisik Taurus. The Kaim Hashem Nikim Hashem Yisrael, that you have to be Nikim from Hashem and Yisrael, right? Which is an interesting thing because the Gemara in Menachos talks about how much of a smell the Taurus made, right? I think it's a Gemara in Menachos, no? Miles and miles and miles away, you smelled it. So, okay, whatever it is, fine. Tanya Amar Mishmuel, Pamachas Yisi Mahalach B'derech. One time I was going on the way, and I found one of their grandchildren. I said to him, your fathers wanted to make themselves have more covet. And they wanted to lessen the covet of Hashem. The covet of Hashem is in its place, and their covet is less. Right, meaning because we don't have a Beis Hamikdash anymore. Rashi says they don't have a Beis Hamikdash, so there's no longer any cover for them. Some of Rabbi Akiva, Pam Achas Sachli Rabbi Shmuel ben Luga. So Rabbi Shmuel ben Luga said, Pam Achas Yatzasi Ani ve'Echarim Ne'Beneim L'Sadar Lakat Asavim. Me and one of the grandchildren of Beis Avtinas went to pick. Literally means grass. But Isi, right? She'Bacha v'Sochak. That's the way that we should change it. He was crying and then he was laughing. This is why you're crying. Because I'm remembering the covet of my fathers. Okay, and meaning that they weren't able to do the Keturus anymore. Then why are you laughing? So Amar Li said to me, because Hashem is going to give it back to us. Meaning I get lost. I love it. Neiman is keres, and he says, and what made you think about this? Amarli, Mila, Oshon Kenegdi. Right? Because the thing that makes the smoke go up is the grass that we have right here, is the ingredient that makes the grass makes the smoke go straight up. So Harehuli, he said, show it to me. Amarli said, Shvua, he biyadenu, it's already a Shvua in our hands. She'ein mara nois in l'cholon, and we're not allowed to show which grass it is. Right? It's like the lahavdil, the Coke recipe, right? You're not allowed to show it to anybody. So he wasn't allowed to have a Shvua, not allowed to show it. So meaning, point is that there was how many different pieces of grass were in front of them, right? He was no fool, Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel ben Luga could have figured out, how many pieces of grass. I mean, how many could they possibly have had there? Okay. So I one time found a zaken who Megillah Samamon biyada. He had the Megillah of exactly what the spices were. Amarti loy, I said to him, where are you from? Amarli said to me, Beis Hamikdash. Ani, I'm from Beis Hamikdash. Umabi yotchem, what's in your hands? Amarli Megillah Samamanam. He said it's the book of how to make the Torahs. Hareoli, he says, show it to me. So Amarli said, Kol
Yaakov,
man.
you see, cookbooks were popular back then too.
I hear, right? They had it written down, but yeah. So and it's interesting that they had it written
They
down.
needed a
Nobody got it.
fundraiser to pay these Ganovamovs.
I'm saying and it's a if it was written down, it's interesting that it didn't get into the wrong hands either, right? So Amar Lee calls man Shabbat Abba. If I get, you know how many times I get a shiloh, if a woman can go into a bookstore and take a picture of a recipe and yeah, so
they didn't have ransomware back then. They weren't getting hacked.
But I guess no, that's goof of what they're worried about. That is what they're worried about. Anyway, so calls on Shabbat Abba Hayu Kaiman. When my father was alive, they wouldn't give it to anybody. But here it's yours now. But be careful. And then he says, when I came and I went and told it to Rabbi Kiva, he said to me, now we no longer can say bad things about the Beis Hamikdash, right? Because now they gave it out. They shared the information. So it's almost like he did tshuva, right? This one that gave it away did tshuva. No, isn't that what he's saying? He bailed everybody out, right? Mikan Omru. From here Mikan Omar ben Azay, and because of this, from this, because they were put back in to COVID, meaning they got back their COVID. So he says, B'shimcha yikarucha, you're going to be called. They're going to call you by your name. Over Mekayimcha yashivucha, and in your place, you're going to be sitting in your place. Meaning, when your time comes, your time comes. That's we'll see on Amud Beis further, right? Umeshalcha yitnu lecha, and from you they're going to give you. Meaning, Rashi says, it's a fascinating Rashi. The top Rashi here says, "Kloimar loy mishalahem hu matana." The matana is not from the people that help you out. Elo mi mezainis ktuvim lecha min hashamayim. Right? Meaning somebody helps you out in a business deal. Yeah, it's a little dangerous to say this Rashi. Somebody helps you out in a business deal. Rashi saying the guy that gave you the business deal is not the one giving it to you. It's Hashem giving it to you. It just happens to be done through this guy, right? Which is what the Orchos Tzadikim also says in the Musaf Sefer. He says that realize when he's talking about don't love people too much and not love Hashem, because, meaning don't forget that there's a Hashem here who's ultimately the one that caused you to be able to have family and business and all that. Even though Avada, you have to have Hakoros Atayv to people that help you out too. That's the dangerous part of it. Because the guy might say, I'm going to be a fruma. I'm going to say, okay, Hashem did this to me. I don't have to be Makar Tayv to you. No, that doesn't work either. You have to have the right balance, right? Fine. Then he says, Ein adam negeh b'muchan l'chaveroi. A person cannot get touch what's prepared for his friend. That's another thing. There's no point in getting jealous of somebody else's business. That's what the Gemara is saying here. There's no point. If it's not coming to you, you're not going to get it. Yeah. If you're not meant to get this business deal, your friend is meant to get it. He's going to get it. You're not going to get it. Right? And then it says, and last one, Ve'in malchus negas b'charet, and one melucha doesn't touch another. Afilu k'melaynima, right? Even like the thickness of a hair, right? Meaning, when one kingdom is supposed to be in charge, it's going to be in charge until Hashem says it's time for the next kingdom, not a minute later and not a minute earlier, right? Fine. Okay, so then let's see. Hukras ben Levi. Yeah, so he was the musician. He didn't want to share it. Tani Geshu Naisim Kailai B'Ne'ima, when he wanted to make his voice sweet, Machnis Gaidla L'Sayf Piv, he put his thumb into his mouth, and he would put his finger in between. I don't know exactly what Rashi means here. You put it in between. Niman means strings, which Rashi says by somewhere in the smooth part of his lips, neged the mechitza sachaitim, opposite the mechitza where the nose is. Right? It sounds like the upper lip. He would put his thumb somewhere into his mouth, leaning up against his upper lip.
Sounds like right at the back by the epiglottis.
I mean, it means all the way
That's
in the back of his throat.
Stima, all the way at the back. Yeah.
I think it's the philtrum.
I don't know what that is, doctor. You gonna help us, doctor, and tell us what that is?
It's that little thing right under the nose. It's like that little bump.
Well, that's what it means. Outside the nose.
Oh,
what I think.
we're officially the Malach gives you a knip.
Yeah, but the
Correct.
problem is the Gemara is saying that he puts it inside his mouth. He puts his thumb into his mouth. And then he takes his finger, put his thumb in his mouth like he's sucking his thumb, right? Then he took his finger, right? He would put it bein hanimin. Between anima is usually a hair, right? That's what we just had 2 lines ago.
There's the
It's a
hairs in his
hair.
mustache.
Is that what it? Okay, so I'm saying what he put it
says
like.
that
So he sucked
Article
his thumb.
says the hairs
Basically,
of his
he looked like a baby that sucks the thumb, right? You put the thumb in the mouth and then put the finger over the lip. Is that what it's saying?
That's a good show and tell there.
Yeah. Okay, that's what must be. I'll show you.
Should we read what article writes it?
Yeah.
He inserts his thumb in his mouth and he places his finger between the hairs of his mustache.
Okay, he's calling it a mustache. Okay.
Until his
And here we were
brother, the
going to
Kohanim-
give David Spirit credit for that one.
Right.
You know
At
what?
least
Maybe he had,
we know
those,
he wasn't Amish. He wasn't Amish.
I know. I was thinking maybe it's like those guys with the big mustache. The Swedish guys. Sometimes you can barely find the opening for the mouth. Maybe, right? Okay, so I don't know. Either way, so they would jump backwards from how either loud or nice the voice was, the sound that he would make from doing this. Okay, so it literally blew them away. That's what it sounds like, right? The voice blew them away. Okay, fine. So Tanur Ben Kamtzas. So Ben Kamtzas was the guy who knew how to write. So he didn't want to teach anybody how to write. So he would take 4 pens in between his fingers. So I guess he would put four. I don't even think Reb Chaim Ozer could do this, right? He put four fingers in between, 4 pens in between his fingers. And if there was a word that was made out of 4 letters, he was able to write it all at once. Right? Yeah, so that's okay. So that's a pretty talented thing to do. Now, why did they need that? Right? So the pashtus is because it was better to write Hashem's name. It's better to write Hashem's name that way. Right? But it didn't sound like it's as major as the Ketairis and the Lechem Aponim and all those things. Fine. So
Moshe has a whole vart on this. One of the Haftarahs, he has a drasha. He says the Shem Hashem of Yud Kei Vav Kei is Haya Haya V'Yiyah. The way he puts it, he has a whole drush on what it means exactly. L'maisa, he says at the end that the only way that there's a heter to write the Shem Hashem is like they did all at once, because Haya V'Yiyah is all at the same time. So they were mad.
Okay.
Here it says Shalei Lamed Kula. They should have taught everyone how to write it, because this should be the only way to write the Shem Hashem. And the Shem Hashem Yerkovs, they didn't teach anyone, let alone everyone.
Interesting. I hear. Very good.
Doesn't the article say something about this, some kind of rudimentary printing press or something like that? I can't remember. Some kind of he was able to print the letters and If he had been able to teach everybody that, they could have printed many more things. That's what I remember reading in the article.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't.
Anybody see
Okay.
that?
Interesting.
Is this where the
I don't know. Any
everybody
art school
gets his
people have
wire
that?
from for a silk screen?
I don't know. We first have to see if that's true. Anyways, okay. So Amr later said to him, "Why are you not teaching anybody how to write like this?" So Kulan Matu Tshuva L'Dreim, they all had, meaning Avtinas and Gamlo, they all had excuses. Then Kamtzas Loy Matza Tshuva L'Dvarav, he had no answer. He had no reason, right? Because there was nothing. The other ones were afraid that it's going to get into Avodah Zarah. What was the concern that it's going to get to Avodah Zarah? Why should it get to, what's the problem with writing for Avodah Zarah? So Al Rishonim Nemer Zeichat Tzadik L'Bracha. So what does the Mishnah say? Well, this is really, it's a brisa here, but Al Rishonim Nemer Zeichat Tzadik L'Bracha Al Ben Kamtzas V'Chaverav Nemer B'Shem Rishon Yirkov. The name of Rishon should get decayed. My V'Shem Rishon Yirkov. What does it mean? Shem Rishon Yirkov. Amar Rabbi Lazar Rikvivus Tala B'Shmoisan. They should have decay. Rashi says chaluda, to rust, should go on the, like a metal that gets you can't use it because it's rusty. So these people's names should also get rusty. Nobody should use it, right? Deloy maskina b'shmayu, that we shouldn't use their names anymore. Right? Nobody should name their kids any of these people's names. That's what it means. Their name should be rotted. So what we'll see what this means exactly. Let's finish the next Gemara and then we'll discuss it. Maser Ravina, Ma'aseh b'Doeg ben Yosef. Yeah.
Just a quick question. Is there a reason why nowadays we say Zeichat Tzadik L'Bracha for Tzadikim and we say Yimach Shemai for Hashem? Why don't we use this passage?
I mean, why don't we just say
V'Shem Rishon Yirkov?
Yes, I don't know. I don't know why why it switched. I have no idea where the minute came to switch it, right? And also,
well, excuse me.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to say on the Yid. These were Yidden. You're not supposed to say Yimach Shemai on the Yid.
No, I guess there's a difference between it rotting by itself and erasing it. Okay, I hear that. But why they say only Zeichat Tzadik L'Bracha on people that passed away, right? That's one. Also, we changed to Shlita and Neira Yoer and all the other stuff. I don't know. I don't know where it all comes from. That would be a nice, interesting study.
It could have different meanings.
That could be.
You say it about someone you don't mean it about. It's
okay, fine. I hear. Okay, so let's see. So Maser Ravina, Ma'aseh b'Doeg ben Yosef shenichu aviv. There was a story of Doeg ben Yosef that his father, Ben Katan Lima, his father left him as a child with his mother. I don't know what that means. Anybody see a pshat on what that means? Does that mean he passed away?
Abandoned him.
Father abandoned him. That's what it means. He abandoned him. Okay, I don't know. Enichu aviv ben katan le'imoy. So b'chol yom ha'isa imoy my dad say b'tfachim. Right, every day his mother would measure him in tfachim. And whatever amount he weighed or whatever size he was, she would give that amount of money in gold to the Beis Hamikdash. But when the people that attacked us overpowered us, so then she had to shecht him and to eat him. And that's the famous thing that Yirmiyah said in Eicha, to Puchim, right? Women were going to eat their babies and the babies that they cared for, right? Meaning, it's a question. Are they going to, is this that what Klal Yisrael is going to get to? That type of situation where mothers are going to have to eat their own kids? So Mashiach Ruach HaKodesh V'Amar, but the Ruach HaKodesh answered, Im Yahareg B'Mikdash Hashem Kayin V'Navi. Should a Kayin and a Navi be killed in the Beis Hamikdash? Right? Meaning that was also a tzara that happened in the Beis Hamikdash. Right? Zechariah was killed in the Beis Hamikdash. But whatever it is, the kasha is that you see that somebody named the child Doeg. That is a very interesting kasha and teretz here. The Gemara is saying Doeg was not a good person, and somebody named the kid Doeg. So then the Gemara answers, What do you mean? Chazi Masalik. Look what happened to him, right? They named him Doeg. They named the kid after a bad person, and look what happened. He ended up getting killed, right? Which is pretty wild, give and take. That means the Gemara first was saying that Shem Rishon Yirkov is that their names nobody should ever name them. Now the Gemara is saying, and if you do name after a bad guy, it's going to end up being bad stuff for you. It's a bad omen, right? Which is what a lot of poskim say, that you should not name after somebody who's a Rasha, and or not name after somebody who had tzaras, right? This is where the concept comes from, adding a name. That if somebody's nifter young, so you add a name. That's from this. It's part of one of the things is from this Gemara. Now, a common thing is that people want to name their kids, people that have become frum, or they had relatives that were not frum, they want to name after them. So I think it's Rav Moshe who says that when you name the kid, have in mind another, let's say the person who was nifter, who wasn't such a great guy, his name is Yehuda, so have in mind Yehuda, a different Yehuda.
It's Rav Yaakov,
right?
Kamenetsky.
What?
It says that.
I'm sure a lot of Gedolim say this. Right? But yeah.
Chassidish is foreign, right? That it's all in the name. If the name is whatever, Yehuda, as you said.
Well, that's right. So that's a Gemara.
All the holy Yehudas that came first, that's named after all of them.
Yeah, so that's a Gemara also in
Brachos. He brings it here also. Article brings it also.
Yeah. Okay. So that's.
I had an Israeli work for me years and years ago in the garment center. His name was Nimrod.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, interesting. It's an interesting name. I hear. So yeah, but Reb Chaim Kanievsky says that a parent, though, you don't add a name, even if the parent. First of all, many say that Holocaust. Anybody killed in the Holocaust, you don't add a name because there's a kedoshim.
I heard they say, but recently Reb Chaim said that it has nothing to do with the individual who was on Klal Yisrael. It did on Klal Yisrael, not in a specific person.
You mean for the Holocaust?
Yeah.
I hear, but this Gemara L'char is a kasha on that, because this kid was killed also in a Holocaust. I mean, whatever, right. From the Churban, right? So, okay, whatever it is, but this is one of the makaras from this Gemara for the naming. Okay, so Amar Rabbi Elazar, tzadik me'atzmoi, right? Rabbi Elazar says a tzadik, right, he's called a tzaddik from himself, right? Meaning from his own actions, people call him a tzaddik. Rasha mechavere, and a rasha, right? Meaning a rasha can be called a rasha simply from his friend. Tzaddik me'atzmoi, yichsiv seicha tzaddik levracha. You remember a tzaddik, or you mention a tzaddik for a bracha, right? Which is tzaddik is a lashon yochid, but rasha mechavere. And a rasha could even be called a rasha from his friends. The name of Rishaim, plural, should decay. Right? So Mamela, that Rishaim, they work off each other. Fine. There would be a one of the Rabbanan who would say he was like a Magid. Right? And he would say over Agada, how do we know that what the Rabbanan say, that you should remember a tzaddik for bracha? So he said the haksiv zeicha tzaddik l'bracha. What do you mean? Because it says zeicha tzaddik l'bracha. What kind of question is that, right? So he says no. Midaraisa minolan. How do you know that it's in the Torah, right? It says Hashem Omar Hamachas Anime Avram Asher Ani Oisa. Should I hide from Avram what I'm going to do? Right? And then it says, right, the next pasuk says, and Avram is going to be a very strong person. So you see that when you mention a tzaddik, you mention the bracha. So that's how you know it from the Torah. How do we know what the Rabbanan say that Rishayim their name should be decayed? Because it says the name of Rishayim will be run. So he said, no, but the Raisa Midalan. How do you know it from the Deraisa? The Siva Yal Sedaim, right? And they made their tents by Sedaim, right? And then the next pasuk says, and they were very bad. So you see that when you mention Rishayim, you mentioned that they're also bad. So now we have two sources. It's two different sources, one for tzadik, one for Rasha from the Torah. Fine. Amar Rabbi Elazar, tzadik dar bein shnei Rishayim, a tzadik who lived between two Rishayim, v'loy laman mimasayim, and didn't learn from the Masayim. A Rasha dar bein shnei tzadikim, a Rasha can live between two tzadikim, v'loy laman mimasayim, and he doesn't learn from the Masayim, meaning the tzaddik didn't learn from the Rishayim, and the Rishayim didn't learn from the tzadikim. Tzadik dar bein shnei Rishayim, v'loy laman mimasayim. So what does this mean? Avadya, Rasha, dar bein shnei tzadikim v'loy laman mimasayim. So Avadya, Avadya was a tzaddik, right? He was one of the Rebbeim. Yeah. So I'm sorry, Avadya. So I did a run on sentence again. I'm sorry. Let's back up. Tzadik dar bein shnei Rishayim v'loy laman mimasayim. A tzaddik didn't learn from the Hashem. Who's that referring to? That's referring to Avadya, right? Rasha dar ben shnei tzadikim v'loy laman mimasayim. A Rasha lives between two tzadikim and doesn't learn from them. Say Esav. That was Esav, right? Who would you say the two tzadikim that Esav was by?
His father and his aide,
That's what I would think, right? That's what I would think. But
why not his brother, Yaakov?
What?
Why not Yaakov?
That's what I'm saying, right? Yaakov. What did you say, Rabban? Yaakov?
It can't be
Yaakov and
Avram.
Yitzchak.
Rabban said Yitzchak and Avram.
Could be. What's second?
Avram died not to see the Tarbus Ra of Esav.
Right.
Avram wasn't around.
Right. No, so it must be Yaakov and Yitzchak. Yaakov and
They lived at
Yitzchak.
the same time.
Yeah.
He didn't. Avram was nifter before Esav became bad.
We could tell from Aaron Kaplan, for his brothers, they don't want to learn anything from their brother, the tzaddik. You know what I mean? They learn from their father and from the Zayda.
Yeah. How's that working out?
Yeah. Anyway, so that's Esav. Esav didn't learn from them. Fine. Amar Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar says, from the brachos of tzadikim, you can learn out the curses for the Rishayim, right? From the curse that goes to Rishayim, you can learn out the blessing for the tzadikim. From the bracha of tzadikim, you learn out the klal of dichsiv, right? That Hashem, he's saying that we know that Avram is going to command his kids to follow in the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The cry of Sedai and Amar is great, right? So, meaning Hashem first gave a bracha to Avram Avinu that all his children are going to follow in his ways, and then he went and he cursed Sedai. And the opposite, from the klala of Rishayim, you learn how to bracha tzadikim, the siv, that the Anshe Sedayim were bad. Hashem Amar al Avram, Achari Parid when light leaves from him, then he said, I'm going to give you all this land, etc., etc. So you see that there's a bracha, and right after there's a curse for the Rishayim, then there's a bracha for the tzadikim. Fine. Amar Rabbi Elazar. Afilu b'shvil tzadik echad olam. Yeah.
Just to back up to the tzaddik between the Rishayim, why don't we bring a raya from Ephraim and Manasseh? It's much earlier. We say Yisib Chelakim Ephraim and Manasseh. They didn't learn from the Mitzrayim. They grew up in amongst the Mitzrayim. So the Gemara always tries to bring chronologically earlier rayas.
Right. I hear.
Wait,
is that called mamish growing up with them?
What was that?
They had each other and their father. Avadi had no one. He was brought up in the house of Akav and Izel.
And yet we say Simcha Lakim Kavayim V'Chemenashe.
Yeah, that's because they became shvatim. There was the only two people who there wasn't Yerida Sadairis by. That's why we say Simcha Lakim Kavayim. We don't want there to be Yerida Sadairis, not because they were.
Also, he was the only one. Avadi was the only person that was a tzaddik, meaning he didn't have a Menashe or a Ephraim next to him.
Right, that's what I said.
It's easier to be right. It's easier to be greater when you have somebody next to you that's also great, even if you're surrounded by Rishon.
Okay, I don't know. I don't
Now
know.
it sounds like we're doing Parshas Noach.
Okay, Peretz, relax, Peretz. It's the long daf, Peretz. There's no what we're gonna do.
You can't tell I'm a little cranky.
Okay, right there. So Omer Rebbe Lazar, afilu b'shul tzadik echad olam nivra. Even for one tzaddik, the world is created. Shenemar v'yar l'kim es ha'or ki toiv, and Hashem saw the or ki toiv. Ein toiv el tzaddik, and a toiv means a tzaddik. Shenemar imnu tzaddik ki toiv. Say to a tzaddik that he's good. Fine. So Omer Rebbe Lazar, now don't listen to this one. This is not a good line for Daf Yomi. I don't know if it's for any learning, but yeah, Amar Rav Elazar, Kol Hamashakeach Davar Mitamudi. Anybody who forgets anything of his learning, Gairim Golus Labanov, he's going to cause his kids to go to Golus. Shanema Vatishka. Yes.
I have to stop. Mashakeach does not mean forget. He makes himself forget.
Shakeach
means someone who forgets.
What? Yeah, I understand that, but it's the shaila is what that means.
I agree
that's
with
the excuse.
Gershon.
That's true, but that's what they say. But what it
He
means is that if you
deliberately
correct. So the question is not reviewing considered deliberate? Right? How do you deliberately forget something? I know I could tell you one thing with my brain. If I deliberately try to forget something, I will 100% remember it. Right? That's just me. Right?
Right after second Seder, instead of going to supper, you go play a video game.
Yeah. That when we learned the brachas on the Daled Minim, that the Goyen sheet is you pick it up and you haven't zidden not to be yaitza.
Correct, right. Never mind that.
The Goyen, right? So.
Correct.
Happens very naturally for me.
Right. It's like, if you learn in the bathroom, then you'd end up remembering everything because you're not allowed to learn in the bathroom, right? That type of thing. But that's what you're right. Actually, you're right. So if you want to say purposely forget, so the question is, how do you purposely forget? That's okay. We're not getting involved with that now. Yeah. Because you forgot the Torah of your Hashem, so I'm also going to forget your kids. They take him down from his greatness. Shenemar kiato hadas me'asta ve'emososcha mekahinli, because you have not had you have mias, you were disgusted by knowledge. I'm going to take you away from being being in charge. You're going to get knocked over, which makes, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. Meaning, if you don't remember, you shouldn't be in charge. If you're not remembering the Torah, so then why we can't have you in charge, right?
Rav Yosef didn't lose his godless.
True, but okay, but there was constant forgetfulness. They had to redo what he said, right?
Yeah, but he was still Rav Yosef. You saw the cover that
he was still Rav Yosef, but I don't think they could have. He wasn't giving shiurim.
He was. Every time Abaye reminded him, it was, didn't you teach us this then? As he was saying something.
Okay. All right. Okay, I hear. Fine. Ain't tzaddik nifter min ha'olam ad shenivra tzaddik k'moisa. Right? There was no tzaddik that would ever passes away from this world until another tzaddik like him comes about. The sun rises and the sun sets. Meaning there's always going to be, right? The famous, anytime somebody's nifter, so they quote this, anytime a tzaddik is nifter. Right? Ad shaloi kavsa shimshoi shel Eli, right before Eli was nifter, zarcha shimsho sheshmuel haramasi. Shmuel haramasi was born. Hashem saw that there was very few tzadikim. So he went and he planted them in every generation. It says Hashem would make the things that hold up the earth, and he put the world on top of them, which is the tzadikim. Even for one tzadik, the world is going to be around. Because it says that tzaddik is the yesod and he's the what do you call the Yisod, the foundation of the world.
I don't know if a tzaddik dies
Right?
and a new tzaddik is born. So how is there ever only one tzaddik?
What do you mean?
Every tzaddik that is nifter, a new tzaddik is born.
Right.
So how are you ever in a situation where there's only going to be one tzaddik? I mean, there's always going to be the same amount of tzaddikim.
Right.
Ask
That's
better.
what he's saying. He's never.
How do you have
never
Yeridas Adaris?
I was
If you have
thinking
a
that also.
replacement.
Yeah, but
No,
nobody's
'cause
born
then
a
you have the other
tzaddik.
Gemara that
Nobody's
says
born a
Yiftach b'dar
tzaddik.
Shmuel b'dar Yiftach b'dar Shmuel b'dar. It doesn't mean that the tzaddik on the same level, but tzaddik based on Klal Yisrael's level. What are you saying, Peretz?
Yeah, but nobody's born a tzaddik. You have to become a tzaddik. If you're born a tzaddik,
true.
there's no godless.
It's true.
And, yeah, and
I
it's
guess
not, and it's not easy to do, parents. I got to tell you.
Listen, you know what I mean, Rabbi, and I agree. It's not easy, but some of us have an easier time than others.
Yeah. Okay, anyways, fine. So Reb Chia, the day Omar, Reb Chia himself said, he had a different makar. Ragli Hasid of Yishmar. Because of the Hasidim, he's going to be Yishmar. He's going to watch the world. Hasid of Tuva Mashma. Hasid Dov is Mashma. I'm sorry, that's a question. Hasid of Tuva Mashma. Hasid is Mashma that there's a lot, not just because of one. So Hasid Dov, if it's written Hasid Dov with only one Vav, so Mamela, it's written as singular, even though it's pronounced plural. So therefore, even for one tzaddik, he'll keep the world going. Since a person goes through most of the years and he doesn't do a chet, he's no longer going to do a chet. Okay, I don't know what that means because we see that for Poil doesn't happen.
Rabbi Yochanan Kohen Gadol, isn't that the famous raya against that?
Yeah,
Wasn't he the one that 80 years?
Yeah. It says never. I mean, all the Muslims say never stand on your what do you call it? Laurels.
Never rest on your laurels.
Don't rest on your laurels because you never know. But here, this Gemara sounds like, hey, if you manage most of your life, you're good to go, right? Shenema ragli chasido yishma. Fine. The very Shila Amrid. Kivan Shabala Yode Dvar Avera Pam Rishona Vishnia. If you have an opportunity to do Avera once or twice, and you don't do it, Shuv you're no longer going to do the chet. Shenemar, because it says Ragli Chasidov Yishmar. Also the same Ragli here we're touching Ragli, it means there's things that could happen. Right? And I mean if it happens a couple of times, plural, then you're going to be okay. To a letz, he's going to be a letz, and to people that are humble, he's going to be very happy with them. So right, this made it into probably tens of thousands of Joshes and Musas for right. So somebody's coming to be metame, he wants to do something bad, he's going to get the opportunity. Balatar Messiah is it when somebody wants to make himself tar, he's going to be helped. He's going to have siyata dishmaya. Fine. Tana Dever Yishmol. Mashal Adam show you Meicher Neft Hafarsman. It's a mashal for a store owner who sold neft, which is like gas, and the farsaman is nice smelling things on Talmud Aleph. Right? Bolim doy neft. So if he wants to, somebody comes into the store and wants him to measure out some gas, which smells terrible. Do it yourself. It's self-serve on that. Bolim doy a farsaman, but somebody who wants to come and do a farsaman, wait, I'm going to do it for you. So that we'll both end up smelling nice, right? So, when somebody wants to do, this is a mashal that somebody wants to do something good, so you want to deal with the good, that the good will rub off on you, but the bad smelling stuff, nobody wants to go anywhere near. Now, this next line is from the most famous lines in Shas, okay? And it's just caused a lot of
Marchuk's not even on.
Where's Marchuk? Yeah,
I know Marchuk's not on, but this is mamish. This has caused a lot of headache to people. Tana dvera v'ishmal, not headache, chas v'shalom, meaning a lot of nerves. Tana dvera v'ishmal, avera mitamtemes liboy shel adam. If you do an avera, it stops up your heart. Rashi says, "Aitemes v'sesemes mikol chachma." It blocks your heart from chachma. Shenemar. Now, how do we know this? It says you should not become tummy to them, meaning you shouldn't eat. Tomei, it's referring to shrutzim, like not animals, whatever they're called, rodents, whatever those things are called, that you shouldn't make yourself tummy to them. And al tikri v'nit mesim doesn't say v'nit mesim because you're going to become tummy. Ella v'nitamtem, and it's going to become, meaning they wrote it without an aleph. It should say v'nit mesim with an aleph. It says v'nitamtem, so it means it's going to stuff you up, right? So basically, from this Gemara is where we get this thing that if you eat treif, then it's going to stuff up your heart, and it's going to cause you big problems, right? And then that's where you get in a lot of the forum. They say timtum alev, you do this, you're going to have timtum alev, and then people start getting nervous with baby formula that has to be not kosher, or people that call Yisrael, and then they have to give the baby formula with not chol Yisrael, and then medications. Is it timtum alev? Is it not timtum alev? Right. That's also where the Rama says you shouldn't have a baby shouldn't nurse from a non-Jew because of timtum alev. Right. Meaning those are it all comes from this Gemara. Fine. Tanur Rabbanan. Alta tam of him and it made some bum. Right. You shouldn't become tummy to them, and they will leave a tummy. You other matama asmi ma'at. So a person makes himself a little tummy, no say harbe, but he's going to end up becoming very tummy, right? So milatame, if he makes himself, milamata, if he makes himself tummy in this world, the no say milamala, then they're going to make him tummy milamala in the upper worlds, whatever that means. And if he's going to do it in this world, so they're going to be tummy to alamaba. Fine. Tanur Rabbanan. This kadishtim ve'yisim kedoshim, you should make yourselves kaddish, right? Adam mekadosh atzmi ma'at and kachano say harbe. If a person makes himself holy a little bit, they make him very holy. Milamata mekachano say milamala. If he does it on milamata, then mekadosh milamala. Ba'olam hazeh mekachano say milamala. And that's the whole thing with kedoshim to you, right? That you're supposed to make yourself more kaddish and not supposed to, get involved in every shtus. And that's what the famous Ramban says, that you're supposed to make yourself kaddish with things that are mutter, not just things that are tamei to you, but even things that are mutter, you should try and make yourself holy. Okay, it's a long daf tonight. I hope we got something in there. All right. I'll go to everybody.
You're forgetting something.
Oh,
Hadron.
parents, yes.
Yes. Hadron Allah Chamar Lema Memuna. Okay. Fine.
Yaakov, the next few blood also like this. I got it to know.
What?
The next few blood also got it to like this, right?
No, one more and then that's it. Then Friday's stuff comes actually. Friday's stuff's pretty hard actually.
Heavy duty.
So, what?
Okay.
It's heavy duty.
Yeah.
So Gershon, you can make early Shabbos and we'll do the daf late.
How about we do early daf and you can make late Shabbos?
We have to decide what time we're doing it on Friday.
We're going to early Shabbos over here.
No, I'm fine with doing it 2 hours early Shabbos.
No, we were doing middle till now. Now we're doing early.
Oh, now you're doing early. I think we have to switch the daf Friday to early, to before early.
It's going to be 5 o'clock?
I don't know. We'll have to. What time is early Shabbos?
6:20. We're gonna do mincha this week.
And maybe we do daf and a half like we used to do Thursday night.
No, we got to do something on Friday.
I understand half the daf on Friday.
All right, we can fight about this tomorrow night.
That's right. That's
Good night, everybody.
Rabbi, I had a shtickle nace happen to me. I had a nace happen to me years ago with the last Gemara.
Yeah.
The first time I ever flew first class, I got bumped off a flight to England back home. I was beyond exhausted. I've been up for 2 days straight. I was by a friend's house and I was coming to the flight. I didn't know where I was. They brought me to first class. I was sitting in first class and they offered me nuts. And I said yes, not realizing that they don't give you a package of nuts, which you can see a hechsher. They give you a cup. And I had a mouthful before I even realized what I was doing. I didn't have a clue. I was in another world. About a half hour later, I threw up. The only time I ever threw up on a flight was in first class. Because I had a mouthful of nuts and I didn't check the hechsher out.
You know, they were kosher.
They may have been, but I didn't check. Plus, they were heated up. So either way, the oven that they heated them up in wasn't kosher.
It would kill the whole story for any of these storytellers. Yoli, Gold, Gross, whatever, this one, that one, the Magid and all of that. Find out that not only was it kosher, it was bedats.
No, but this they give you out of a package. It's heated. They heat them up for you. They're warmed in an oven that has nothing. Yeah.
Reb Yaakov, can I ask 2 questions on the Daf tonight?
Yep.
Okay, so the first one is when we were saying that the one person is enough to save the whole world or keep the whole world running, right?
Right.
So how do we understand Stone then? Stone, it's not even one tzaddik was even if there was one tzaddik.
You stole my question. Oh,
even one tzaddik, they were gonna.
I was about to say. Why didn't Rum say, what about one tzaddik?
Right. I mean, why do they have to be a minion?
Right. I figured that's just
right. I had the
world.
You know, I had the same question.
But that's just the town. That's not the whole world.
How much more so?
Why?
Meaning one person.
The whole world for one tzaddik.
So the whole world for one tzaddik. So one town definitely for one tzaddik. Right?
No.
Yeah.
No, the town is messed over. The whole world is not going to get destroyed if there's one person.
So it doesn't have to be such a righteous tzaddik. He could just be like a decent person. Do one mitzvah.
Why don't you ask from Noach?
Right?
Ask from Noach.
No, because here
I decided not to ask from Noach. That's why.
Well, let me ask you. Why did Avram stop after he first went? What did he do? 50, 45?
50, 40, 30.
No,
20, right? Something like
he went 5. He did a 5.
5?
Yeah, he threw a 5 in.
Yeah, he threw a 5 in. Yeah.
Right. That's because they wanted 5ish to you know what I mean, for whatever Or Sameach 5 thing, whatever you call that.
It was before they started the decimal system.
Right.
The other wasn't a question. It was more just but you mentioned that the kid, the Doeg ben Yosef, that you had a Shiloh from like the whole generation, right? It's not really a Shiloh because he was named prior to it being a problem for the entire generation.
What are you saying?
Doeg ben Yosef, he was named, right? And we said, and the Gemara answers, oh, look what happened to him, right? And you said you have a Shiloh on when it's a plague on a generation, right? But look what happened to this guy, and he was still named, and bad things happened, right? Isn't that what you said? You had a Shiloh on that? You were wondering?
Yeah.
So it's not really, if he was named Doeg before there was an issue with the rest of Klal Yisrael, and there was whatever you want to call it, an edict on all Klal Yisrael to destroy them.
No, Uri, his kasha was the other way around. You don't see that something bad happened to him. Something bad happened to the whole Klal Yisrael.
Okay, I understand.
No, meaning they say Reb Chaim Kanievsky, right?
Mm-hmm.
Says that anybody from the Holocaust, at least I heard it from him, is that anybody from the Holocaust, you don't have to add a name.
Right. And you're saying in this case, it's something bad happened to everybody, and he was just, he was one of the tragedies. He's like a collateral damage. Nothing really happened to him, so how's that an answer? Okay, that's the shadow.
I think the chiddush with him was that he was shechted and eaten, unlike the rest of Klal Yisrael were just killed. There's a reference to him in
a little whatever, but when there's a terrorist attack, we all say everybody died al kiddush Hashem.
Yeah.
Right? Do we say the same thing by Meron?
No.
Why not?
They didn't die.
Why is that a kiddush Hashem?
They weren't killed because they were Yidden.
They were killed doing something the Kaddish Shemayim, at least in their minds.
I understand. Here, the person was killed because he was targeted for being a Yid.
So because the Misa has to be Al Kiddush Hashem, or the Chaim should be Al Kiddush Hashem?
I don't know.
No, meaning there's a, my mother-in-law was killed by a car accident. Yeah. So Reb Shlomo Miller came to Menachem Ovel because my brother-in-law was learning by him, and he says by the shiva, it was like, woo. He said, you know that just like when they say that somebody that's killed by a goy doesn't need tahara. He said that if somebody's killed out being a yid, they don't need tahara because that's kiddush Hashem. He said even somebody who's not killed because they're a yid, but a yid gets killed by a guy also doesn't need tahara.
Wow.
That was what I'm saying. It was quite an interesting thing to say at a shiva, but okay, but so there's a big thing.
It reminds me of the Gemara of Rabbi Kiva, when they were combed him b'masrikais shel barzel, and he was marich be'echad. The Talmidim asked him ad kama. Ad kan, right? And he said, all my life I wanted to be Mekayim Kiddushem Shemayim. Now you're going to stop me? So they ask a question. What does that mean? He died al Kiddush Hashem. What's marich? Why marich be'echad? What does that change anything? So one of my rebbeim used to say over that it's one thing to die al Kiddush Hashem. Rabbi Kiva was teaching his Talmidim, I'm going to be marich be'echad so I can live al Kiddush Hashem.
Right. Interesting. Okay, but I don't know.
We're not holding by Rabbi Kiva, but
no. But that's interesting. You said Rabbi Kiva. That reminded me. Did the art scroll say this? No. Oh, I don't. Who said this? People don't. They changed the spelling. Oh, I should have said this. They said that they changed the spelling of Akiva from Rabbi Akiva's spelling because he was nifted the way he was nifted. Ever hear something like that? Yeah.
So it's with a hey now?
Yeah. Akiva spelled how?
Ayin Kuf Yud Beis Aleph, no? It's a hey now?
So I think, people, I have to look. I have to look later. I'll have to look.
That's very strange.
I know.
What on earth is that supposed to mean? We're saying something about Rabbi Akiva? How dare we? What does that mean?
I'm going to look it up. I got to go.
That can't be.
But, I'm going to look at it, Belina.
Have a good night, Shkayach.
Yeah, Shkayach.
All right.
Good night.
Okay. Zah gesund.
Also.